Okay, good. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order. This is the reorganization meeting of the Bedminster Township Committee on January 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. I'd like to read the Open Public Meetings Act. The adequate notice for this reorganization meeting of the Bedminster Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville, the Burnasville News in Whippany. It was sent to all subscribers and also posted here at Town Hall as of November 19th, 2020. At this time, I'd like to ask you all to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to welcome everyone to our reorganization meeting. As you may know, we did have an election in 2020 for Township Committee member. The winner of that election was Colin Hickey, and at this time he will be sworn in as a new member of the Township Committee in his second term for a 3-year term. So Mr. Hickey, if you would join me. Put my mask on. I'm going to read this and you're going to raise your right hand.
Right hand.
Put your hand on the Bible and you'll repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Colin Hickey,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Township Committeeman
of the office of Township Committeeman
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and that I will not use my office
to grant preferential treatment,
to grant preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
nor to seek personal gain,
favor, or advantage
favor, or advantage
not available to the general public,
not available to the general public,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Colin.
Thank you, Doug.
Yes, congratulations, Colin.
Thank you, Gina.
Okay, at this time, I would like to hear a motion to open nominations by the Township Committee for mayor.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I will open the floor to nominations for the position of mayor.
I'd like to make a nomination, Lawrence, the Honorable Lawrence Jacobs.
I'll second.
Okay, this will be a roll call vote.
Do we need to close them?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm moving ahead of myself too
Good job,
fast.
Renee.
Are there any other nominations for the position of mayor? Hearing none, look for a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now for the roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson,
Absolutely.
Mr. Hickey,
Enthusiastically, aye.
Ms. Mareski,
Wholeheartedly, aye.
Ms. Fernandez,
Aye.
and Mr. Jacobs.
Aye.
Thank you.
Hey, congratulations, Larry.
Woohoo! Well deserved, Larry.
Now you can change the sign, Larry. It says committeeman on there.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Gee was playing tricks.
Okay,
Thank you,
join me
Judy.
out here, we'll give you the oath of office. Okay, raise your right hand, left hand on the Bible. I state your name.
I, Lawrence Jacobs,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of Mayor of Bedminster Township
of the office of Mayor of Bedminster Township
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
and that I will not use my office
and that I will not use my office
to grant preferential treatment,
to grant preferential treatment,
nor to seek personal gain,
nor to seek personal gain,
favor, or advantage
favor, or advantage
not available to the general public,
not available to the general public,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
Congratulations, Larry.
Yeah. Congratulations, Larry.
Thank you.
Well deserved.
Okay, so at this time, I would like to turn the meeting over officially to Mayor Larry Jacobs.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to Doug Cohen for making and seconding that motion. And thank you to every member of the Township Committee for your trust and confidence. I value your support, and more importantly, I value your friendship and your honesty. Welcome to the 2021 Bedminster Reorganization Meeting via Zoom. The Township Reorganization is usually held in concert with a dinner that provides the opportunity to bring the community together at the beginning of the new year. A tradition started by Betty Merck, in whose honor we named the event the Betty Merck Dinner. That dinner was not possible this year. At other reorganizations, we have made the reference to Ms. Merck's favorite saying, "It is nice to be important, but more important to be nice." While we cannot be together in person to break bread or share a toast with our neighbors, we can continue to promote the community bonds that hold our town together. Just as last year, let me remark on this Township Committee. 4 of us live or have lived in the hills. 2 of us have lived in affordable housing. We have a school teacher, an equine therapist for disabled children and adults, 2 lawyers, and an entrepreneur. Collectively, we have sent 10 children through the Bedminster school system. This Township Committee represents the Bedminster community. Community. That word guided many of our decisions in 2020. The wide-ranging impacts of the COVID pandemic certainly hit home in our small town. Bedminster was not immune to the suffering, loss of life, stress of isolation, and considerable financial impacts. COVID permeated nearly every decision we made last year, and will likely do so for the remainder of 2021. In March of 2020, we withdrew our budget at the last minute and reworked it in contemplation of the impact to our residents. We started a food pantry for those in need of food and household supplies. We put together a residents' resource guide when the flow of information from other sources was both overwhelming and not at all helpful. Community drove our decisions to keep our parks open, to move forward with an expanded farmers market, and to assist our restaurants and businesses staying open in a safe and secure manner. The Township Committee will continue to make decisions for Bedminster, being mindful that community is more important than ever. So while we may not be sharing dinner or drinks, tonight, in the spirit of Betty Merck, we honor the Bedminster community. Since the COVID crisis began, I've been reporting on the data provided by Somerset County. As of January 4, Bedminster is reported as having a total of 189 confirmed cases of COVID and 4 fatalities, attributed to COVID. As we have all been saying for months, practice social distancing, wear your mask, and wash your hands. Until the vaccine is widely distributed, those actions remain our best defenses against spreading and contracting the virus. On Easter Sunday, April 12, 2020, Bedminster lost Sergeant Altrique Patterson to COVID-19. From a proclamation we issued in the weeks that followed, let me read. Sergeant Altrique Patterson was perfectly suited for the Bedminster Township Police Department. He touched the lives of many residents during their times of need. A professional who rose rapidly through the ranks, he was a gentleman while also a fierce guardian of the public safety. Sergeant Patterson leaves behind his parents, his brother, his wife, and 3 young children. Please join me in a moment of silence in Sergeant Patterson's memory. Thank you. On Christmas morning, 2020, Bedminster lost Joe Serona. Joe served on Township Committee in 1988, completing an unexpired term. He was then elected to Township Committee and served as mayor from 1989 through 1991. Joe returned to Township Committee again in 2006 to complete another unexpired term. Joe remained active in Bedminster and was always there to represent the interests of his community. Mayor Serona leaves behind his wife, his sister, his children, and grandchildren. Please join me in a moment of silence in Mayor Joe Serona's memory. Thank you. We'll open the meeting to public comments. So Ms. Sullivan or Robin, whoever has control of the
Deputy
Zoom
Clerk
meeting.
is controlling the Zoom.
You want to remind people how to make them?
And for those seeking to make public comments, please hit the wave hand button on the Zoom, at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
Mayor, I'm not seeing any comments.
Okay, if there are no comments, we'll move on to the first resolution of the night, which is Resolution 2020-001, which resolution establishes the rules of order for the Bedminster Township Committee meetings for calendar year 2021. May we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the consent agenda, which consists of 19 resolutions. These are resolutions of routine business. Unless there's a Township Committee member who wants to pull a resolution off for individual discussion, we can do so. Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. This will be roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Moreski? Aye. Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Sullivan, we're going to turn it over to you for the acknowledgement of the service of employees and volunteers.
Yes, sir. As Mayor Jacobs just acknowledged, we did lose 2 people from the Bedminster family. Sergeant Altrique Patterson last April and Mayor Joseph Serona this past Christmas Day in December. However, we also had several volunteers that have held positions on various boards and committees and commissions within the township. So I'd like to take a moment. These individuals have served and their term now has come to an end, and they are stepping down. So I'd like to acknowledge from the Bedminster Hills Housing Committee, Colleen McCarthy, who was on the board since 2014, and Robin Dustow, who was on BHHC board since 2013. Their term has come to an end. I'd like to acknowledge on the Farmers Market Committee, Don McNabb, who served on that committee since 2018, and also John Gibson, who also served since 2018. On the Environmental Commission, Don McNabb was also on that group and served since 2015. On the Historic Preservation Commission, I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Felicia Nace, who served on that committee since 2015. And we also have 3 members on our rec committee that have stepped down. We have Park Smith, who did serve since 2016. We have Deborah Posner, who served since 2014, and Drew Siegel, who served since 2006. So I want to just acknowledge all those volunteers. Without those volunteers, our boards and commissions and committees do not exist. So our volunteers are a very important part of the Bedminster Township family. I'd also like to acknowledge 3 of our employees that did move on, left Bedminster this year. We lost Deborah Ann Halleck from the Tax Assessor's Office, Kevin Coley from the Public Works Department, and Glenn Hartzler, who was one of our inspectors in the construction office. So we'd like to wish them well in their new careers. So, Mayor Jacobs, that's all I have.
Okay, great, thank you. So Ms. Sullivan had mentioned the role of volunteers on our boards and committee. And so what we've been doing for years with Township Committee at the reorg is to run through all the appointees, and we just did that under one of the, that was Resolution 2021-005. These are it's a sort of recitation of the Township Committee appointees to the boards and commissions, as well as a recitation of the mayoral appointees as well. And so we'll take a few moments, but let me run through this. And for the most part, we have a lot of returning board members. So there's not a whole lot of new names that you're going to hear, but there are some. And I will do my best to identify those who are returning and those who are new. So start with the Board of Health. There are 2 folks returning, Diane Teleho and Vincent DiMartino. Those are returning appointments. Ladies Board, the 2 appointments for this year are me, returning, as well as Committeeman Hickey, who is also returning. Recreation Committee, there are 5, and 3 of which are renewals. So seat 1 is Paul Lenarski, who is returning. Seat 2 is Shauna Crane, a returning member of the Rec Committee. Seat 4, Frank Pascal, also a returning member of the Recreation Committee. The 2 new appointees to the Rec Committee are Israel Melendez and Janine Obiedzinski. For Historic Preservation Commission, seat 3 is filled by Catherine Allen, who is a returning member. The alternate spot is Jesse Ruzicka, who actually is moving up, having previously filled an unexpired term. And Rob Samuth Jr. is a new member to Historic Preservation. To the Somerset Hills Youth Services and Municipal Alliance, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 returning members with Deb Grundyke, Officer Marjorie Cooper, Detective Paul Piano, and Anna Spitaleri, who are all returning members. New members include Howard Walkow, Krista Deckett, and Gina Infante. And Howard, Krista, and Gina, I believe Anna as well, are coming from the Bedminster School or the Bedminster School Board. The Sewer Advisory Committee. These are returning members all. Seat 4, Bernie Payne. Seat 3, Al Fisher. John Mance is returning as the Public Works Director, and the other returning members to the Sewer Advisory Committee are me and Committeeman Doug Stevenson. The Somerset County Municipal Wastewater Management Plan Committee will be comprised of the mayor, me, Committeeman Stevenson, Frank Banish, our planning consultant, and Paul Ferrero, our engineering consultant. The Sewer Transmission Advisory Board will be the new members or returning members will be me and Committeeman Doug Stevenson. The JIF Commissioner, Judy Sullivan, that's you in your returning role, and Robin Ray as your alternate. The Central Jersey Health Insurance Fund Commissioner, Judy, that's you again, returning, and Robin as your alternate. The JIF Safety Delegates, John Mance from Public Works, Kevin Sullivan from Public Works, and Sarah Hausman from the Bedminster Administration. The JIF Township Safety Committee, these are all returning positions, except for Sarah, who's new on this one. John Mance, Kevin Sullivan, Chief Rock, Robin Ray, Judy Sullivan, Dwayne Kavanaugh, and Sarah Hausman will also be joining the Township Safety Committee. The Farmers Market Advisory Committee. There's a number of seats on the Farmers Market that will be filled by representatives from the Environmental Commission, from the Agricultural Advisory Commission, and from the Recreation Commission. So there are a number of those spots that will be filled or populated by the other commissions or committees. However, there are a number of citizen spots and other seats that are appointed through the Township Committee, and those include the following returning members: Graciela Quintana, Taylor James, James Brady, Mercedes Rolandelli, Stephen Glazer, Mimi Jacobs, and we have a new member on the Farmers Market Advisory Committee, Merrill Bender. Now that's it for the Township Committee appointees. The following appointments are Merrill appointees. We'll start with Emergency Management, and these are all returning spots. John Mance from DPW, from the Pottersville Fire Company, Chief Lewis Moore Jr., from the Far Hills Bedminster Fire Company, Chief Matthew Draheim, from the Far Hills Bedminster First Aid Squad, Captain Nermeen Chaudhry, the Township Physician, Dr. Allison Agathis. Judy, you're there as ex officio as administrator. The CFO, Deb Stern. I will also be on the Emergency Management Committee. Dr. Namitha Reddy from the Somerset County Department of Health. And our shelter coordinator is Nick Strackhoff, and our township engineer, Paul Ferrero. These are all returning appointments. Environmental Commission. Once again, these are all returners back to the Environmental Commission. Dawn March as chair, George Rodelius in seat 5, and alternate 1, Tiffany Elliott. The Agricultural Advisory Committee, James Brady III, returning, Jim Carter, returning, Harriet Druskin, returning. The Land Use Board, these are also returning members. Nicholas Strakov, Scott Zupnik, Jeff Leonard, Anna Arbona. The Library Board, there are 2 returning positions to the Library Board. The Mayor's alternate, Committeeman Hickey, Citizen Representative, Ralph Calder. The Somerset County Cultural and Heritage Committee, returning for another term, is Sean Blinn. Somerset County Development Block Grant Committee, and those 2 spots, that goes to Colin Hickey, Committeeman Colin Hickey, and Committeewoman Gina Fernandez. Bedminster Hills Housing Board. I will be returning to as the Township Committee liaison. Also, Doug Stevenson will be taking the other liaison spot. And 2 board members will be Judy Sullivan and Deb Stern. Somerset Hills Historical Society, Sean Blinn, returning in his position. Recycling Coordinator, John Mance, and the Assistant Recycling Coordinator, Sarah Hausman. I also designate Township Committee Member Douglas A. Stevenson to act in my behalf as mayor in the event of my absence or disability until I so designate otherwise. So thank you to all the volunteers, and thank you for Doug for serving as active mayor should the need arise.
Mayor, can you mention about being sworn in? For those
Oh, yes. So for everyone who's taking a new position on a board or is being re-upped for another term on one of the commissions or boards, what we've done in the past is at the reorganization or the Betty Merck dinner, we went around the room, swore everyone in with the same statement that Ms. Sullivan read earlier. This year, swearing in will be at each of the meetings when those committees, commissions, boards first meet. So unless someone wants to come by town hall, which they're more than welcome to do, Ms. Sullivan or Ms. Ray can swear members in. Otherwise, at their first meeting, those folks can be sworn in at the first meeting. There'll be a township committee representative, or me, or Ms. Sullivan, or Ms. Ray, with the Bible, with this swearing in statement, and it can all be taken care of at those meetings. So next on our very quick and short abbreviated reorganization meeting, we are actually ready for township committee comments. So let's lead off with Committeeman Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. And before I begin my comments, I just want to clarify, Mayor, you did agree to live in a bubble this year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. As the saying goes, folks, you know, it's not that you get knocked down. It's what counts is how you pick yourself up off the mat. 2020 was certainly a horrific year, one for the history books. It didn't discriminate, and we all felt its wrath one way or the other, and Bedminster was no exception. While that certainly is the reality of our collective lives, I wanted to take the opportunity tonight to reflect upon 2020 through a bit of a different lens. One that focuses on the few of the positive takeaways that we saw this year. And just to hopefully it serves as a reminder to all of us that no matter how many lemons 2020 gave us, we did make a little bit of lemonade along the way. When COVID first broke out, Mayor, you know, under your leadership, you and the township committee and the township staff employed a divide and conquer approach to it. Put together a resource manual reference that really covered everything from mortgage assistance to, you know, ways to purchase your groceries. We tried to think of every possible way that the residents could, you know, get some assistance in the uneasy times, and no one really knew what to expect. But I was very pleased and proud of the fact that the county picked up on our informational resource and disseminated it on a much broader base. You mentioned, Mayor, earlier in the meeting, we lost Sergeant Patterson. One slight silver lining, obviously, you know, that was just horrific, but, you know, we were able to organize a multi-day blood drive with Ms. Fernandez leading the way there to help those in need in honor of Sergeant Patterson. We were able to organize and schedule free flu clinics in town. And then, as Mayor, you mentioned earlier, that despite having a budget in tow, you know, we did go back to the drawing board, scrap it, and put together a COVID budget with the understanding that no one really knew where we were going. You know, the little things like opening up the dump for folks who were sitting at home and reconfiguring their homes for remote working, you know, opening up the dump for folks to come down and use it for free. You know, it's the little things. And sometimes it's the little things that count the most, especially when folks are down. I'd obviously be remiss not to point out the visibility and what we saw with our pop-up pantry run predominantly by Committeeman Hickey and Ms. Ray. Nowhere was the spirit of Bedminster more pronounced than that initiative, in my opinion. We got to witness firsthand the love, generosity, and compassion of all of our community members on a daily basis, bringing in donations every day for folks who were in need. That truly was heartwarming, and it drove home, to me at least, why I want to live here, why I want to call Bedminster my home. When commercial businesses were able to finally reopen, this committee did not hesitate by adopting a town-wide special use permit to permit dining and points of sale to occur out in the outdoor, where it wasn't permitted before. You know, we're very much got our eye on the commercial enterprises in town. We want to see them do well. Separate apart from our COVID initiatives, a couple things happened in town. Just wanted to reiterate, remind folks, you know, we jumped in the fray. Thank you again, Committeeman Hickey, for the American Water rate adjustment. Really spearheaded a several town initiatives to block that, and it resulted in a favorable settlement for all water users in town. We continue to work with JCP&L to reduce outages, both in terms of frequency and duration. I think we've seen a good step forward in 2020 on that line. And for those who didn't know, we've completed some significant upgrades over at Pluckerman Schoolhouse Park. We resurfaced the basketball courts. We resurfaced the volleyball courts. We took out the fencing in the baseball field to permit that field to be more usable. We repaved the parking lot, did some amenities in the pavilion area. So hopefully we can, you know, really start to use that park. I will tell you that a youth basketball league sprung up at the behest of the recreation department and our help of our Somerset Hill neighbors. And the kids from Bedminster. We had a rotation between the various towns, and we used those courts, and they were put to use right away. And then most recently, you know, we talked about last meeting, the repurposing of our pony farm out on Black River Road to open space and passive recreation for all community members. So, you know, through a lot of the darkness, you know, we were able to get some good stuff done, and I'm proud of that. You know, our work on the TC here, it's not done, far from it. And while we all take a collective breath and feel positive about putting 2020 in our, you know, proverbial rearview mirror, 2021 is not going to be without challenges. Certainly, one of the known challenges we have is the pending loss of Ms. Sullivan as our administrator. After years of dedicated service, Judy decided to move on, retire, and work on her golf game. I'm personally very sorry to see you go, Judy. When I first was put on the TC, you were the first person to reach out for me, and you made it a point to say, hey, you know, what can I do to help you? I'm here to help you. And you really took an affirmative role in easing me into the position. And so for that, I'm still grateful to this day. So, you know, you've proven yourself to be an invaluable asset, Judy, to the township, not, you know, through both your actions and your historical knowledge. You know, you bring a certain degree of knowledge that just other people don't have, and it's invaluable. So you'll certainly be missed. You will not be forgotten. And I hope that you stay in touch during your retirement. I wish you all the best as you start the next chapter of your life. To my fellow TC members, I look forward to working with you this year. I remain optimistic about Bedminster's future. I'm certainly confident that we'll be able to continue delivering meaningful and necessary government service to all of our residents. In that regard, I'd like to just close by thanking the terrific volunteers who populate our boards and committees. I've said it before, but it's worth saying again. We cannot run this township as efficiently as we do without you and your tireless efforts. Whether you serve on recreation, environmental, sewer authority, the planning board, or otherwise, your efforts do not go unnoticed, nor are they unappreciated. My hope for you my hope for all is that you will find value and purpose in your volunteer posts. If so, spread the word to others and encourage them to get involved. The more buy-in we get from our residents, the more we become a government of the people so we can serve the people. Thank you all, and good night.
Thank you, Doug. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. As I am fond of saying whenever I speak, I like to follow the 3 Bs. Be brief, be bright, and be gone. And I would say in an era of Zoom and without food and drink between us, I will endeavor to do just that. First off, I want to thank the Bedminster voters one more time for the confidence they placed in me at the ballot box last November. You know, as I went door-to-door campaigning, I heard loud and clear that our residents have high expectations of us, as they should. Our residents are not unlike Apple customers. They expect the same great product every year, in our case, low taxes, but they also expect a greatly improved product year over year, be it new services or better quality of life. Folks, message received. In order to deliver on those high expectations, you need a great team. Mayor Jacobs is our Joe Torre, who brings a tremendous wealth of experience and knowledge to the table. And my colleagues, frankly, are his all-stars. We have the sharpest legal mind in the business, Doug Stevenson. We have someone who always puts community first in the person of Renee Moreski. We have the let's get it done attitude of Gina Fernandez. And we have a tremendous township team, both staff and volunteers, who always execute on the vision. Make no mistake, we have our work cut out for us this year. As Richard Dawson used to say on Family Feud, top 5 answers on the board. Well, the survey says cable service is number 1 on the list, followed by better communications, limited development, health and well-being, as well as improving on our already great parks and rec programs. Thank you, Robin. And just for good measure, farmers market. Now that campaign season is over, I am eager to get back to work. What has always been paramount to me is listening to our residents' thoughts and then taking action. I look forward to continuing to serve the good people of Bedminster. Thank you all.
Thank you. Committeewoman Moreski.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Township Committee members, honored guests. As always, I have the trouble of being the third one to do comments, and I usually just want to say ditto to whatever Doug and Colin say, but I did take some time to write some notes, so I'm going to say them in my own words. As we close out 2020 in this Zoom forum that we've all come to be so familiar with, I would like to express my gratitude and appreciation for the people we have worked with this past year. While we've had to change the methods of how we interact with our residents, the heart of the town has remained unchanged. We are supporting our local businesses. We are using the hike and bike trail. We are holding our meetings via Zoom. Even Town Hall itself, with a few more plexiglass windows, stickers on the floor, and signs that ask you to wear your mask, it is still here and open to all who need its services. And although many parts of our normal lives have come to a halt due to new rules of social distancing, the work of the town still gets done. From making sure that our local parks are in good shape for residents to use to stay healthy, thank you, Doug, to looking forward to new potential uses of the AT&T buildings and grounds. Thank you, Mayor. From protecting us from large utilities proposing outlandish rate hikes, thank you, Colin, to making sure our local charities are still raising funds for those in need. Thank you, Gina. For making sure our local roads are in good shape, thank you, John Mance, to making sure there is a safe place for residents to express their thoughts. Thank you, Chief Rock. Our Environmental Commission is still hosting educational programs, and the Jacobus Vanderveer House is working on new programs. Bedminster is a small town that is cared for by forward-thinking problem solvers who are guided by our master plan, always with the town's best interest at heart. The loss of Bedminster's own Sergeant Patterson from COVID-19 left us all with an empty space, but we carry on as a town and continue to take care of each other with our things like the farmers market, the food pantry, and recreation department programs. A very special thank you to Judy Sullivan, who will be retired this year. Sorry. Judy, you've been a true friend and guardian to our town. We thank you for your dedication, your kindness and concern for our residents, and those who have served on the many committees, commissions, and boards. We will miss you, but wish you all the best in your new adventures. So as we leave 2020 behind with all the struggles that have affected many of our residents, may we welcome 2021 by moving forward, continuing along our path to do the best for Bedminster's residents now and in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Committeewoman Fernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a little spotty internet, but I just wanted to say again, reiterate, thank you. Congratulations to Colin Hickey and congratulations to Mayor Jacobs. I had the honor of sitting next to you or near you on the dais or just next to you on the screen in our Zoom meetings. And each of you have proven over and over again, time after time, that these appointments were well deserved. So congratulations to both of you. I had written a speech that had a lot to do with just going over the things Doug went over, so I'll spare everyone the details, but 2020 was a trying year for many, if not all, and I'd like to once again just thank the entire community for coming together. We faced challenge after challenge and many losses in our community, and I believe that decisions were made in the best interest of all the residents, and it makes me proud to call Bedminster my home. So I'd just like to wish everyone a happy new year and a healthy new year and a prosperous new year, and that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. So as I've said in prior years, the mayor's comments, and I can look over at the Zoom board up there and point out to Mayor Parker that the mayor's comments do tend to run long. So again, I will apologize in advance. Congratulations to Colin Hickey for his re-election to Bedminster Township Committee. I do not recall any candidate receiving more votes than you did. Whether it was someone running locally or whether it was a state or national level, I do not recall any candidate receiving more votes in Bedminster than you did. Clearly, your positive message during an election season that was otherwise fraught with tension and emotion, that positive message resonated with the voters. Congratulations. And I extend my appreciation to Jeff Byer for his campaign and for offering the voters an alternative. Thank you, Jeff. So as I mentioned, just in case you guys forgot, there was a presidential election this last year. And as the home to Trump National Golf Course, Bedminster found itself in the national news and sometimes international news again and again and again. Every weekend, we had protesters of President Trump and supporters of President Trump and Biden-Harris supporters camped out by the library. We had truck rallies and motorcycle rallies. And through it all, our police department, led by Chief Carl Rock, kept the peace and order out there. Thank you, Chief. And I've said this before, but it bears repeating. Thank you again to the residents along Clucas Brook, Lamington Road, and Fairview Drive. Thank you for your patience. Once again, I can't guarantee that the protesters and the rallies aren't coming back, but they're not happening now. The guards are down. We don't anticipate any folks coming up, but thank you for your patience over this last year. Protests and rallies weren't limited to presidential elections. In the wake of George Floyd's senseless death, protests sprung up, and once again, attention was directed to Bedminster. When an internet posting of "Burn Bedminster to the Ground" received traction, the chief and I reached out to the prosecutor's office and we issued a statement assuring our residents that their safety and the protection of their property was paramount. The constitutional right of public assembly was maintained, but contingencies were in place to protect our residents. With those assurances, there is no need to react to internet threats. However, we do recognize that there is need for action to address racial insensitivities and the prejudices that exist within our communities. The Township Committee authorized a cultural competency committee that is established under Human Resources here in Township staff. And that committee is led by our very own Gina Fernandez to address communication within our staff and in our staff's dealings with the public. There is no room for failure in that endeavor. 2021 is here, and we remain in an environment dominated by COVID. Change is already happening around us. Vaccines are being deployed, and we look forward to seeing our vulnerable populations, our first responders, and the general population getting access to the vaccine. But the business of running a town continues. Just this morning, I had the pleasure of swearing in 2 new police officers, Taylor DeCole and Jaron Mann. We look forward to great law enforcement careers from both of them. Our committees and boards have a busy 2021 lined up. Planning board and zoning board applications are already filling up the calendar for our land use board. The master plan remains under review and must be looked at to address the needs that Bedminster is facing in a new economy. We are working on a planning study for the AT&T campus. We are working with DOT to improve the safety on our roadways. And we have our Bedminster traffic engineer looking at traffic improvements in Pluckerman. 2021 will be busy for the land use board. The farmers market expanded this year with additional vendors, additional farmers, and the introduction of food trucks. From the beginning of July to mid-December, we only had 1 day with a little bit of rain. At the beginning of the season, someone asked me if we were still going to run the market or were we going to hold back because of concerns associated with COVID. My response was that because of COVID, there was no way we were not going to run the market. Clearly, our community needed the farmers market to get outside, to shop, to see people, and to do something reflective and inclusive of the Bedminster community. Our parks improved, and this all goes to the Recreation Committee and to some of the comments you've already heard. The new basketball courts at Pluckerman Schoolhouse Park and the paving of the parking lot establishes that park as one of our jewels. With having just completed a survey seeking input on our recreation services, we expect great ideas coming from the Recreation Committee. And not just to get great ideas, but to see those ideas implemented in action. Bedminster remains aggressive in pursuing and delivering on open space opportunities. We are currently working with staff and our professionals on preserving additional land in our agricultural areas. We are hopeful that during 2021, we have added a few hundred acres into open space or agricultural restrictions. To our boards and committees, I challenge each of you, activate your programming. Social distancing does not mean stopping social interaction. We certainly are faced with constraints, but we need to be creative. Now more than ever, we need to activate our resources for the Bedminster community. I ask you to develop and run a program, engage the community, affect change, and to do more. As we move to 2021, the Township Committee faces the yearly challenge of running a town, scrutinizing the municipal budget, being creative and thinking expansively to provide the municipal services efficiently, keeping Bedminster current with technology, and developing zoning and affordable housing strategies that are consistent with the character of Bedminster. And while it's implicit in scrutinizing the municipal budget, the direction to the Township Committee is always keep our taxes low. Bedminster is well served by a dedicated staff that works tirelessly to serve its residents. And we have that with Judy Sullivan, John Mance, Robin Ray, and their staffs. And we have that with Chief Carl Rock in the Bedminster Police Department. Thank you all. As I said last year, we have a small town, a town where the fire companies and first aid responders are staffed by volunteers. And this is a line I used last year, I'm going to use it again. That does not mean that they are any less professional, but rather they are motivated by duty, camaraderie, and community instead of salary. Thank you to Chief Matthew Draheim and President Ron Kennedy, Chief Lewis Moore, Captain Ramin Chaudhry, and President Anthony O'Reilly. To all the current and former members of 29 Fire, 63 fire, and 29 first aid. You have our appreciation. As I was writing these comments, I was struck by how much we accomplished in 2020 and all the other items that I simply did not have the time to adequately cover. Some of them were mentioned by other township committee members, and some we just frankly don't have the time to go through. I would need at least another hour to describe all that, and I frankly don't need to put you through that. And I will say that for another time, but nothing, none of it could have been accomplished without Judy Sullivan. Judy Sullivan is retiring in early spring of this year. She cannot be talked out of it. We have all tried again and again. Judy grew up in Bedminster. Started her first job right out of college as an assistant in the police department, followed by stops in public works, and she worked her way up to a few other administrative positions until Mayor Bob Holtaway made her an offer she cannot refuse. Judy is the clerk administrator for Bedminster Township. That means she's in charge of official records, our resolutions, our ordinances, the processing of all the paperwork that comes with being the clerk. She is also the administrator, which means she is in charge of running the township staff, organizing the budget, interfacing with the public, negotiating contracts, overseeing our professionals, and working hand in hand with the elected officials. Her job is not 9 to 5, nor does it involve a 5-day work week. She is dedicated to Bedminster and to everyone who works with her. 2020 was a stressful year for all of us. Judy, your calm demeanor and willingness to entertain my crazy ideas and to work with me to see those crazy ideas come to fruition was a gift. It was a gift to me, it was a gift to the other township committee members to help implement their ideas. We will have several opportunities over the next few months to repay that gift to you. I do hope that COVID allows us an opportunity to pay tribute in a more fitting manner than a Zoom meeting. So let's keep some dates open after we work through the 2021 budget so that we can say thank you with a proper send-off. Until then, thank you, Judy Sullivan. Those are my comments for tonight. May we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
2021.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Be well, stay healthy.